Okay, let's talk spoilage and storage in the Taleggio gateway. These cheeses are hard because right off the bat, they all look kind of weird and funky because of that orange sticky rind. So what do you want to see and what do you not want to see? First thing I like to point out to people is that Taleggio, which is probably the most common washed rind cheese, is very, very often sold with little bits of gray or sort of greenish mold in the cracks and crevices of the cheese. I have seen it without that, but it is very, very common, and I would not consider it a sign of spoilage. If the cheese is sort of plump, bright orange, a little bit shiny, a little bit glistening, that's all good. And if you see just a little bit of this gray-green mold, don't worry about it. What you don't want to see, and what the most common signs of too old washed rind cheeses that you'll find in the store are what used to be a nice bright orange rind is starting to get darker. It's getting to be more brown than orange. And most importantly, you can see the surface is covered with white specks. I mentioned earlier that these are cheeses that are washed in salt water. As the cheese gets old, that salt will start to kind of crystallize and crust up on the outside of the cheese. That's a sign the cheese has been sitting around for too long. So when you see those white specks, don't buy it. The other thing that you really don't want to see, it's a perfect example right here, are washed rinds that are starting to get dark brown around the edges. And that's particularly true for the ones sold in little wooden boxes. So take the top off and look at the cheese before you buy it. Again, you want it to be bright orange and shiny, but you don't want to see dark brown or cracking around the edges. It's a sign the cheese is too old. What you want to look for in terms of smell, or rather what you want to avoid in terms of smell, are strong smells of ammonia. That's the most common sign that a washed rind is getting to be too old. They definitely stink. They smell weird. They smell like feet. They smell like socks. So I guess it's important to know that there's good bad smells and there are bad smells. And in the case of this cheese, ammonia is a bad smell. Once you get them home, because they're softer and creamier, you want to eat them more quickly. 7 to 10 days for me is generally the max. I'll keep them in my fridge. And because this washed rind is breaking down the cheese, it's a live rind, these cheeses don't do so well wrapped in plastic wrap. That tends to accelerate their spoilage. My preferred method are little Ziploc baggies where I can suck the air out, but these cheeses also do really well if you wrap them in parchment paper with a layer of saran wrap over them. Of course, you can always use special cheese paper. Also, as always with cheese, you can face your cheese or just cut a really thin layer off if it has been wrapped in plastic so you don't get that plasticky taste.